Bootin' cats. Dansen, hello out there in Indigenous country. It's another great day to be Indigenous. Welcome to Actors and Ancestors Season 2. Holy, we made it. For anyone joining us for the first time, this is a podcast for Indigenous actors and anyone else who wants to learn about them. I'm your host, JD Mongrain. I'm a Rocky Cree actor, and if you recognize me from a few shows, that'd be pretty cool. My very first guest, gosh, I'm really excited. You'll know him as William Knifeman from Reservation Dogs. He's also in this new amazing series, Fallout. He's a beadwork artist, a quilter. He's a Taurus, a land defender, a water protector, a voice actor. He does it all, man. He's a writer. Geez, I'm so excited and humbled and honored that you're here today. Can I ask you to introduce yourself and tell us about your land, who claims you, where you're from?
Well, how matakipi? Chante washte nape choose apiro. It's good to see everybody here. Even though I'm not seeing you, I'm hearing you with my eyes. My name is Dallas Goldtooth. I am Dakota-Diné, and I am from the Lower Sioux Indian community in southwest Minnesota, or so-called Minnesota. And I'm, coming right to you right now from Chicago, where I live with my family. I am a proud husband of the family of 6. And yeah, that's who I am. I am a Dakota man, born and raised amongst my Dakota Lakota people.
Wow. Got the big family. Numbers are coming back. We're a fast-growing demographic here. Right on.
Bringing back the Red Nation, brother. Bringing it back.
Awesome. I gotta ask you, because I always come at my guests real hard with that first question. Indian country's real curious on your take. Kendrick or Drake? What's going on there? What do you?
Oh, dude, Kendrick all the way, man. Dude, fuck, man. Can I swear?
Oh, fuck. Yeah. Go ahead.
Oh, fuck. It's a colonizer language anyway, right? Actually, for many years I questioned that, because when I went to Saskatchewan for the first time, I come to realize, I have a theory that the word fuck is actually a Cree word. For how often you hear it. Fucking, holy shit, fucking, man. Yeah, fucking. Oh,
Ever
fuck.
fucking sick, oh, yeah.
Ever fucking sick?
No way. What were you doing up there?
I can't say. No, I was kidding. It's a long story. Tell you a story here, nephew. Now, wait. No, I went up there for a youth program, for a summer program. I forgot which treaty it is, but near Fort Capel, and Star Blanket Reserve. And we did like a 6-week youth program there. So that was my first trip up that way. And then went to FSIN powwow. That was a good time. Saw a couple girl fights, traditional Cree way,
Oh, wow. They are, honestly, I'll watch UFC and I'm not as disturbed as watching 2 Cree women go at it. They are lethal.
So, my name is Dallas. I got a big family. A lot of folks don't know about that. I kind of keep it under the wraps on social media. I used to post a lot about my children, about my family, but just with more attention to my social media, like for their safety, I pulled back from that. And also to pay respect to my wife, who also was like really not comfortable with any of our personal information or our pictures of our kids out there. So I really scaled that back.
A lot of folks feel the same way. I know I do too. It's my personal life I try to keep out of any of this.
I want to say though, all right, so you played Eddie on True Country? No. True Detective.
No, that was some other Indian guy. Yeah, don't be racist. No.
Oh, fuck.
Yeah, I did.
I auditioned for that role.
You what?
Yes,
what?
Man.
No way.
Yes, I auditioned for it.
Holy, that is unreal.
I auditioned for it. And so this is like behind the curtains, right? I auditioned for it, but I didn't want to do it really because I was so nervous about the sex scene stuff because I'm like, it's HBO. You're gonna be making out and be all up on there, and I don't know if I'm ready for that. Had a conversation with my wife about it. Just like, look, I don't even got the role yet. I got to have this conversation. But I talked to one of the producers, and
they talked about Chukshi doubles. Yeah, Chukshi doubles are important.
Yeah. Who? No, and really, I just felt it was proper to have somebody that actually lives farther north, who's farther north than I, that's more connected, at least a bit closer to Alaska. So I'm happy you got it. It's like I'm really grateful, and you just fucking killed it. And but yeah, I auditioned for it, and that's an interesting dynamic that I'm coming into, is that there is a relatively small pool of native male actors and female actors, and also two-spirit relatives. But I can assume when I get an offer for a self-tape or audition, I'm like, I know about maybe 4 other guys who are also all going out for the same role.
Yeah.
And it's an interesting dynamic because you don't want to bring it up.
No.
You don't want to say, hey bro, how you doing? Did you get this self-tape request? You don't want to say that because they might not have gotten it.
Yeah, and then you feel bad about it. I mean, that's actually one of my questions I was going to ask you later on, because it is a small community. Who is your other favorite actor to lose a part to? If you don't get it, who are you?
Oh, who's my competition?
Yes,
okay.
Who's your main?
All right, brother. Here we go. No, man. The folks I look that, there's some amazing actors. And of course, it has to be stated that we walk in the footsteps of giants, right? There's a lot of relatives uncles, grandfathers who've really went through a lot of crap in the movie industry so that we could be where we are today.
And you've worked with so many of them.
I've worked with them. Yeah. I got to work with Wes Studi and Gary Farmer in particular, who I really owe a lot to. And there's a small group of folks like Tatanka Means and Kiowa Gordon and Martin Sensmeyer in that space, even though Martin's got the pretty boy hot bod look. But it's kind of in that realm of like, I just auditioned for a role. And I'm like, who else would go for this? It's probably Tatanka. It's probably me and Tatanka and like maybe Eddie Spears. I know Eddie Spears is still out there. And then I just met, Miguan.
Oh, Fair brother.
Yeah.
He's a buddy of mine. Yeah.
Yeah. I acted in I did a indie film with him last summer, and it was quite a great experience with him. I really like that guy.
He's a good dude.
But no, it's just one of those things, like really coming into a space where I'm like, okay, there are limited jobs, but I have to do the best I can do, and I also know like I might not be the best for every role. Right, and that's the way it goes. So,
I'm the best for every role, so I don't know what you're.
There it is.
But on that note, like, I mean, because it is an industry where we're all hungry, and we all know each other. But you also stated that you weren't interested in certain kinds of jobs. I wrote it down here. It was an interview with Vulture. You said, you know what? I want to see how far I can go as an actor without getting stoic Indian on a horse in the 1800s.
Oh, yeah.
And I have the same thing too about that, but I have the feeling that my answer is different from yours. Why didn't you want to do those roles?
It's almost like I want to challenge myself as a performer, as an artist. And all right, there's different levels here, right? One, I'm not the best horseback rider. That's just got to be put out there. I'm not that good. And it's fucking weird because I'm a fucking Plains tribe Indian here, man. I'm fucking Dakota, Ochechi Shakoi, Lakota warrior kind of vibe, but fuck, I suck on horseback. It's also, I'm 6'2". I don't know how to play basketball. I suck at basketball. I'm like the worst res kid. Because I never got into basketball, really. I guess really that statement, I guess I got to be very specific. I want to see how far I can go without playing a very stoic, scary Indian on a horseback, right? Unless I write the part, unless I'm a part of the creative team, right? Unless it's a project that I'm deeply invested in. And a part of that was born out of filming Reservation Dogs, which I play Indian on a horseback. And after the first season, like immediately after the first season came out, I got 3 job offers, which is great. Hey, that's cool. But they were all the same Indian on a horseback.
Yeah.
But it's all serious, right? They saw Reservation Dogs. Oh, let's get them in this, and it was like Indian number 4. It wasn't even like lead roles, right?
Brutal.
It's those classic westerns. That's what it was, and I think I felt a certain responsibility as a storyteller to challenge myself to go after the roles that kind of break that mold a bit. And nothing against, I'm not throwing shade against actors that do, because hey, we got to pay the bills. But I think that collectively as actors and performers, I think there's a way about us demanding different roles, and not pigeonholing us into this is the only space for you as an actor, is to play 1880s Indian on a horseback.
Yeah, well, I mean, I could see why too, because like you were a postcard pretty much. The first image of you coming out there, oh, young warrior, and I was like,
and the whole intention of that, the whole intention of that was to make fun of it. That's the thing, is people watch it and you're like, they don't get it. They're like, oh, we want him in our movie. I'm like, dude, I'm making fun of your movie. Like, that's the whole point of it.
Exactly. I mean, see, now that a role like that is something that I would have said yes to because you're making fun of it. And I think honestly, I think it's ridiculous if they were to cast someone that looks like me, because I'm a very, mixy looking guy, to play those. And I'm always shocked when they offer me that kind of stuff, like, and they're like, oh, and I'm like, no, I would be so mad to see me riding along out there. Yes.
So dude, one of my first projects I ever did on camera was like a student film, and it was like early spring. I hadn't gone outside for like a year, so I was like super pale, like I had no tan whatsoever. And it was this white guy who wanted to do. He was trying to create like a sizzle reel. Like he wanted to just basically show an example to find the funder, say, hey, I want to do something like this. Yeah. And it was a story of one of my ancestors, one of our chiefs, Chief Little Crow. He asked me to play Chief Little Crow. And he said, like, I want you to ride on a horse and then we're going to come down to this creek. And I didn't tell him I didn't know how to fucking ride a horse. But we got on the horse, and it is the cheesiest, most B-rated movie quality you've ever seen. Like, I'm wearing Adidas socks that you can see in it. I'm wearing some weird wolf pelts. Yeah. And I'm super pale, and my hair is just like so tangled and unkempt. I look like Stands with the Fist from Dances with Wolves. And I fall off like I actually, he cuts it right as I'm about to fall off. So it's like I was the worst Indian on camera, and he never asked me back. But to make it worse, to close the story out, to make it worse, a friend of mine ended up doing the project with him. It didn't get really funded, but my friend is just like, he was like, light skinned. He was mixed, but he put him in brown face. They had him like wear like really dark tanner, like bad makeup. It was bad. Whoa. It was so cringy, and it was my bro, and I was like, no, don't do it.
Did he have like really pale hands and things?
No, he wore gloves. He wore gloves, like the freaking, like, those Western, like the Blackfoot gauntlet gloves are beaded and stuff. Yeah. But anyways, hey, I'm just gonna let you know I'm a little ADHD, so I'm gonna be all over the map here.
Oh yeah, no, you and me both actually. So that's and I always wanted to say, you can't see this out there, dear listeners, anyone out there, but Dallas, when he's talking about his family earlier, he's wearing the cutest little pink headphones that he's borrowed from his daughter.
Yeah, I got these pink kawaii gamer headphones I bought for my daughter for Christmas.
Oh, that is
all my kids are gamers. I'm a gamer.
You are. That was another question. I'm going all over the place. We're doing.
We're
flipping around because, of course, you're in Fallout, and honestly, for me, it's the best adaptation of a video game I have ever seen, hands down. And I'm a huge nerd. I've literally played all the Fallouts from when they first came out, from Tactics, Fallout 1. And what gets me is you're the first Indigenous person I've seen in the Fallout universe. Legitimately, because there are actually tribes in the Fallout universe game. I can't remember something Sacred Heart or something like that, but they're made up of Germans. Their ancestors were all Germans because they have that weird hard-on for Indigenous people here. And so then they decided to become indigenous, quote unquote, in the Fallout universe. So
Yeah.
why are there no natives in the Fallout world?
In Fallout Las Vegas, there is the dead horses, which has they were mixed in. There was like whites and natives and all these other folks mixed into it. And there was other tribes, like you said, but they're referenced. I think there was one side story about a trip that went down to New Mexico and they encountered, and they never came back because they were attacked.
Yeah.
But man, I'm a gamer, I'm a nerd, and I got to be on Fallout, and that was flipping amazing to be a part of.
Do you see this?
Yes.
I'm wearing a Pioneer Saloon, Good Springs, Nevada t-shirt. And this is from the actual little pub that exists in Fallout New Vegas. And
yes,
it's like more than 100 years old. It exists in the game. My partner and I, she was so gracious to drive down with me because we were in Vegas. My mom and I have the same birthday. You and I are both Tauruses. So that was
hell yeah!
last year.
We are lovers of beautiful things.
That's right.
We love beautiful things.
That's right. There she is. Hey, she's over
there.
There
it is. Hey, good plug.
Hey. But yeah, she was lovely enough to come down and indulge my super nerddom. So.
Oh hell yeah!
How did that all come about? How were you asked to be on that show? I sure wasn't asked to audition. So.
I was actually just thinking about this. So this was back in 2021. I filmed my parts November and December of 2021. So it was a while ago. And it was through my management company. Actually, the request came through my managers. My management company is Mosaic Management. They're based out of New York and LA. And I got just a request for a self-tape, just out of the blue, just a request to audition for it. And I got the call back pretty quick, like within a week and a half of the self-tape. They asked me to do another audition for another, script or more words. I can't talk. And so I sent that in and they were like, I booked it. And a month later, I was in New York City. We filmed that in New York City. A lot of the desert scenes, actually, they filmed in Nairobi in Africa. And the showrunner, he was just like, really liked your audition. And it was really like a discussion that he said they had in the room of like, they wanted to create a space to have a native voice in this. In particular, one, and this actually could be controversial, or at least like, hey, it's a continuation of the narrative that you and I were just talking about, of like the main character plays this like 1950s Western movie star.
Yeah.
And that's, Walton Goggins. They created this narrative for my character, Charles Whiteknife, to come into it. And so it was pretty sweet. I got on the set. One of the first things we did, I went to costume change. When you get hired, if you're lucky, they'll give you time to come in like a couple of days before to go through costumes, and you get to kind of you have an input on what you're going to wear. And so I was doing that, trying to picking out what my wardrobe would be. And I was like, do you guys have anything here? Like anything I can see? Because they were super secret. They couldn't tell anything. It was Fallout. This is a big thing. Sure enough, they took me to the other room, and there was a whole locker of all the Vault suits.
Ooh, nice.
And then there was like these helmets. They had all this like gear. And then the costume designer was like, hey, don't tell anybody, but come follow me. And I went down the hallway and around the corner. And this was like a big New York City, Brooklyn warehouse.
Yeah, I appreciate being told about this.
Now we can say it. But he opened up this door, and in this room were 2 power armor suits.
What?
And I was like, oh, no way.
What?
No way.
What?
And I got to go up and check them out. One thing that was really amazing about that production is that a lot of the props and a lot of the suits, they actually contracted out to cosplayers to make.
That's
so
why they were so spot on.
They just looked on social media, found the cosplayers who were already making Fallout gear, and then contracted them to make the gear for the film.
Wow.
That's why they're so accurate and so spot on. Like you just said, it's because they're invested fans of that whole universe. That's what I really loved. I filmed the scene with Walton in the bar, and it's a scene where Charles is trying to convince Walton, like, hey, something's up. Yeah. Like, these corporations may not have our best interest in mind. And when I got there, I'm at the bar and I said, hey, can I have something to drink? Can my character order something to drink? And they were like, sure, what do you want? I'm like, can I have a Nuka-Cola? And they were like, yeah, we can do that. And they pulled out a Nuka-Cola. And if you don't play the game, a Nuka-Cola is like a big major part of the game. Mm-hmm. And I got to pop the cap off the Nuka-Cola.
Ooh, nice.
The noise.
Mm-hmm.
So that was fun. That was that was a blast.
Good one. It was a real blast.
Yeah, it was a good one. And I'm excited. I hope, they announced season 2. I haven't heard anything yet, but I'm hoping, right? This is the name of the game as an actor. I'm hoping my character comes back. I don't know. That's the plight and struggle of the actor, is you hope that you get a season 2.
It is very true. I'm always thrilled to hear all of our folks getting more work because, hey, we're all in this together. We're all floating. Mm-hmm. It is a great time to be an Indigenous actor, it feels like. Hey, Indian country, there's a new podcast I want to tell you about called Pretendians. Its hosts, Robert Jago and Angel Ellis, dive into stories of Indigenous identity fraud. Pretendians. How do they do it? Why do they do it? And what happens when they're exposed? On a recent episode, the hosts turned their attention to Hollywood. And there's no shortage of stories of movie stars who play Native, because being Pretendian is a Hollywood tradition. But this episode delves into the history of how they did it and how well they were paid for it. So to listen to it, just search for Pretendians in your podcast app. You will be floored.
One of the questions I get so often, and it's always a hard question to answer, is like, folks want to come up and say, hey, but one of the purposes of this podcast, right? How can I get involved in the industry? Mm-hmm. Like, I'm interested to be an actor. I'm interested in doing this. I'm interested in filmmaking. And the most solid advice that I firmly believe, like I 100% firmly believe in, that helped me get to where I'm at, is working with other like-minded people to create the good things. Like, we cannot work in a bubble. You can't work in isolation. You can't say, oh, my idea is the best idea and I don't want to work with anybody else. Because a lot of the jobs I've gotten, the vast majority of them, is just because I've made good relationships with folks and networked with people and kind of collaborated so that they know, oh, I can trust this person. Oh, I know this person can do this. The 1491s, we were a comedy group that started almost 16, 17 years ago. Just a bunch of guys who wanted to just make stupid YouTube videos. Mm-hmm. And it was because of that, it was through that, Sterling Harjo, one of the 1491s, got the show Reservation Dogs, brought us all on board. Yep. A lot of our sketches that we made as 1491s made it into the show.
That's the house number that Bear lives at, I think.
Yep, the house number. It's also the bus that the crew takes back from California back to Oklahoma. It's bus 1491. The other 1491s in there is my brother Migazi. He's actually my half brother. My step brother. We grew up with each other, and he's a producer. Like, dude, he's been producing. Like, he's been hustling forever. Now he's over in Bangkok, Thailand, right now, as a producer and writer on the Aliens series for FX.
Whoa!
So they're making an Alien series, and my brother is one of the writer producers for it. So it's a Anishinaabe, Ojibwe, Ponca working on Aliens.
I love it. I love it.
That solid crew, we just did our best to make sure that we do right by our relationships with folks. Right? Don't burn bridges. Don't be an idiot. Don't be an asshole. And especially there's a certain dynamic that comes with being an Indigenous man as a performer. There's a certain responsibility that we carry, I believe, that there's a higher bar because of a long history of assholes before us and people who've done really shady shit and have acted inappropriately or have caused harm that we had to be super aware of as we built up our own careers.
You actually talk a lot about toxic masculinity, and on Twitter, I think you mentioned that you did workshops at a state prison in Minnesota, and you said that they were some of the most humble and engaging conversations you ever had with men, and predominantly Native men, Black men, and a couple of white guys. It sounds incredibly powerful. I was hoping that you could speak more about what toxic masculinity, healthy masculinity means,
Yeah.
especially as Native men. You've becoming a role model for a lot of folks as well. So, what was the most impactful thing about that experience?
Yeah, that was at the Stillwater Correctional Facility in Stillwater, Minnesota, which is a state prison. My brother is an inmate there. Is my older brother is incarcerated, and my father, who is also runs Sweat Lodge there, or used to. They've closed it down since COVID, but he used to go and do ceremonies for the guys inside. There was a brother that was talking. I met there, and he was half Native, half Black, and he said that he was inarticulate, but he actually spoke very articulate about his emotions and feelings. Really, what it came down to is what was coming across is, I get frustrated and so angry about everything because I'm told that I need to be more loving, though I never learned that language. It was just so raw and just so straightforward, really, at the crux of it. I think that in my comedy with the 1491s in particular, but also I think I manifest it in my other performances and other roles I do, is I often tease what it means to be a man, what it means to be a Native man. Because in many ways, that's how me as an individual, as Dallas, process all the shit that I've learned and I'm trying to unlearn. We, as men, often limit ourselves and our capability to respond to the world to such a narrow degree that, yeah, it makes sense that we get frustrated, anger, or that we respond to things the way we do. I'm not condoning it. But also, I think we have to understand the systemic nature of how we teach men to be men, right? Mm-hmm. And Black and brown men, Native men in particular, how we create this identity of what it means to be a man, this whole warrior identity, and how that kind of just fucking jacks us up at times. So I think that's why I like to make fun of and tease ourselves as Native men, because in many ways, our dysfunction as men is so wild, it's fucking hilarious.
And we're all really just like teaching each other as well. And we got to hold each other accountable, because like so many, one of your sketches, I remember there was a joke, maybe it's Tito saying like, "Oh, you grew up without a dad. We all grew up without a dad, like, like, you think you're special?" Like, and I grew up without a dad. And I laughed really hard at that. Like, but this is the thing, is that we're all learning together. I feel like as a whole, we're all getting into a really good place, and it does nothing but make me feel so proud to be who I am. But ages ago, like you were saying, there was a lot of doors that had to get kicked down. Yeah. I guess my big question too is, because you're an activist, an organizer, I guess is what you prefer to be called. But I guess the overarching question I'm asking is, how do you do all of this? Because comedy is hard. Activism, that's really hard. That can be soul crushing. Being Indigenous, that's not something that people would define as being easy. I mean, you're all three of these things. How do you actually make sure that you as a man are still okay?
Oh man, that's such a great question. And I fail all the time. I fail at that. Right. So I think that's something to be upfront and honest. I'm not saying that to be down on myself or deprecating. I don't know if that's the word, but I have these aspirations and goals, but I also know that I will often fail in that journey, but continue to move forward. But I guess a question that I get that may help answer this, right, is how did I get into acting, right? How did I actually get to this place where I'm at? And I explained a little bit with the 1491s, but I went to school. I went to college at UC Berkeley out in California. I transferred to University of Minnesota. I went to school to be a teacher. I was actually doing a language apprenticeship program to teach Dakota language.
Honestly, carries through so well with you and everything that I've seen you in. That teaching self, that's your core.
I appreciate it. No, it comes across, right? Yeah. The excitement of sharing. Even in my organizing life, the life I took, I was very much a communicator. That was always like one of my key roles. So, I was going to school in University of Minnesota and commuting between there and my home community. I met my wife we got together, and I had to get a job. Like I was like, I got kids coming, and I gotta get a job. And I just so happened I got a job with the Indigenous Environmental Network, which is an Indigenous environmental justice organization based out of northern Minnesota. And my fight, the first campaign I came on was against the Keystone XL pipeline.
Yeah.
And really, they asked me to come on because of my ability to communicate, because they needed somebody to communicate with the white folks and the native folks to pull off a specific protest we were doing in Washington, D.C. And they were like, it's 6 weeks out. It's all falling apart. Everyone's arguing and fucking ready to go after each other. But we have a common goal to stop this pipeline. And so I was one of the organizers that came in to help kind of reel it in. And we pulled it off. And I stayed on board. And I stayed with them for about 10 years and became a climate justice organizer. I worked with frontline Indigenous communities across North America fighting different types of fossil fuel projects. All during that, I was doing 1491 stuff on the side. So we're doing gigs and travel. We started traveling, going to colleges and doing like native student groups. We were doing shows for them. And that's what kept me going as an organizer, as a quote unquote activist, because I had a creative outlet for all that energy I was carrying in my work. And I kept going to that.
Yeah.
The pandemic hit, like all of us, a lot of us got burnt out. What we were doing, shit changed. Our whole world changed literally. And me and my organizing work, I really burnt out. And then Reservation Dogs came along. I filmed that while also working a 9 to 5 while doing my job. I had to take time off. I had to do all this stuff. Season 2 came about, and they asked me to join the writer's room. So not only was I going to be acting, but I was going to be a writer's room. And it was at that point I had to make a decision of like, how am I going to do this, right? And I had to make a decision whether like shit or get off the pot. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah.
Do I need to commit because I can't give 100% to both things. I was failing in the job. I was failing in the writing and creative side. And I was like, I have to commit. And so I made that decision to like, all right, I'm going to leave my organization, transition out and do it, man. Fucking take the leap and say, I want to be a writer and an actor. And that's what I did.
Now that you're there, you're still involved because you're still an activist. You're like really on sharing posts, a lot of issues around the world from.
Oh yeah. See, I try, man.
All this stuff,
okay, but
it's because the nature of what being celebrity, I guess, is now instead of doing so much activism, I guess you're able to share a message to a wider audience. I mean, is that something that has more value now, do you think, to you?
Oh, of course. I think
able to do that?
I feel like there's a responsibility with the reach that I have. I think I do carry a responsibility to advocate on behalf of the communities that have worked with, but also communities I identify or have relationship to, right? And have empathy for. And so, yeah, I don't have a lot of qualms about sharing information. I feel as somebody that worked as an organizer, I'm like, that's the low hanging fruit when you go to celebrities or influencers and you ask them to share stuff. You're asking somebody to spend social capital, and I have no qualms about expending that capital for these greater messages. I
agree. I mean, indigenous people, I think we have a good sense of community. Like you were saying at the start of the interview, just, don't be an asshole.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's an old sacred teaching there.
Yeah.
To all our non-native people that Chief Sitting Bull once said, don't be an asshole.
That's why he was always sitting. He wouldn't show anyone his asshole.
Yeah. That's right.
It's like, nope,
traditional.
You're not going to see it.
I feel like I do get frustrated with folks when they're reluctant, right? There's a difference. There are actors, influencers, or celebrities, as you may call them, who just don't do social media. That's legit. Yeah. Like, hey, they just don't do it, or they don't have the reach. But then I think that I do encourage other folks to share stuff. Like say, hey, you are in a position to say something. And if you don't I think also we humble ourselves a lot. We're like, oh, I don't know if I know too much about this issue. I don't know. And that's legit too. But if you know something's wrong, then at least you can say, I don't know enough about this, but I feel something's wrong about this. I feel so weird about it though, man. I'll be honest. I do still carry guilt. I'm a people pleaser. Yeah. I've been going to therapy about this. And go figure, I'm a people pleaser. I'm an actor, right?
Comedians are like to hear people laugh. That's the thing.
Yeah. But I do feel guilt at times where I'm not doing enough.
Are there things that you wouldn't do, you wouldn't talk about because of negative repercussions in this industry?
Oh, yeah. With the current war and genocide in Gaza, for the first 5 months, everybody was like, fuck, we don't want to say anything because legit fear of repercussions, fear of whatever, folks were talking in the industry like, just don't post anything, right? So, like, you can have your opinions, but just don't shake the water. Don't do it too much. I feel like I walk it all right. I make my politics known. I make it really clear. Of course, I could probably go harder, and I may get critiques of that. Oh, you're not going hard enough. You're not saying hard enough. But I feel like I walk a line that's I feel comfortable with, right? I'm okay with. And that's what it comes down to is like I feel okay with where I'm at and how I share things and use my social media.
I feel the same way. You made a good point about even if you don't know enough about an issue, you can clearly see something's wrong. Yeah.
I'm not quick to rile up too. Like, people try to come at me or try to attack me on social media. It don't really get me. I know some people with some comments, they'll start I know friends who are actors who will freak out if they get somebody trying to come after them in a toxic way on social media. It's really easy for me to no, I'm all right. I'm not going to let that bother me. Has
it always been that way? Because when I first got that gig on True Detective, I was getting attacked on, light colorism. A lot of folks really just like, who the fuck is this guy? That kind of thing. And that bothered me really badly for about 3 days. And then I was like, oh, yes, hey, I can't change my skin.
It depends on your buttons, right? Because then that's also like, what's that say about yourself, right? Some things will hit really sore and I'm like, oh, it's less about what they're saying. It's more about, okay, why am I reacting in this way? I have some insecurities here. There's something I got to figure out. But for the most part, it doesn't again, I was an organizer. I was an activist. I literally, we coordinated public pressure campaigns on public officials. So I'm aware of the tactics that go into it, and also the not clear tactics where people just want to bully each other. Yeah. And having had that experience, I think it really helped prep me a bit more.
Mm-hmm. On that note, I feel like celebrity, it's always been viewed through a colonial lens. If I were to say the names, there's so many white actors out there, I don't even have to go into them. But if I say the names like Denzel, Viola Davis, Mindy Kaling, Bruce Lee, Lucy Liu, white people know who these people are. And with the exception of Lily Gladstone now, because of the recent Oscar kerfuffle, where do you see the future of Indigenous celebrity going? Because before, very, very recently, most people couldn't even name a single Indigenous actor that were out there that weren't Indigenous.
Yeah.
We all know each other, but.
That's true. And I think also there's different degrees of what we, I don't want to say what we accept as indigeneity, but the scope, the diaspora of indigeneity is also wide enough to where, what was our relative, when Lily Gladstone was up for the Oscar, everyone was like the first Native Indigenous woman for Oscar. But actually it was the sister that was in the black and white film with, Alfonso Cuarón's film. She was a domestic house worker down in Mexico, and she got nominated for an Oscar.
Oh, wow.
And she was on People magazine.
Roma?
Yes, Roma.
Yes.
She was straight up Indigenous, Native, and so it was hey, there's caveats of little asterisks of, we meant, natives from the United States.
True. Yeah.
So those are commentary, right? You have Jason Momoa, who is Native Hawaiian, but does he fall in that, for a lot of us, we're okay, that specific island, we accept that. Dude, hell yeah, Native Hawaiian. But I hear what you're saying too, right? Folks, most don't know about Gary Farmer or Tantoo Cardinal. They know her face.
Yeah.
They'd be like, oh, I remember her in that thing.
Dance
right?
with the Wolves. Everyone knows them.
Irene Bedard, like all that. I think it's changing. I think we're heading in the right direction. I think that also the dynamic of celebrity within Indian country has changed.
Yeah.
With social media. I think that Native celebrities have been more, in many ways, more humanized because they're like, oh, we can have more access to them, right? We see them in other places on social media.
And more accurate representation as well, because we're actually telling our own stories for once.
Absolutely. Yeah. So I feel like we're going in the right direction, but I do have worries, mainly stuff beyond our control. And a lot of it has to do with the current temperature of the industry right now, because we just came out of the writer's strike. We had the actor's strike. And there's a lot of real discussions about like, we're feeling a contraction.
Yeah.
There's a lot of people not getting work.
Yeah.
Because the studios have pulled back. We had this growth in the past 10 years. We've been super lucky, a massive expanse of new media. But coming out of the strike, it's contracted. So the fear I have is that studios will go to what's easy. They're going to go to what's simple for them. And what's simple is not our stories, right? What's simple for them are blockbusters that really cater to the broad audiences where it's predominantly non-native people. And this tremendous investment in native storytellers and native actors and actresses is going to be squandered or going to be overlooked. So that's the fear. The hope is that we have been able to chip away enough and say, hey, fucking invest in us, because you will come out with some amazing quality stories. And you see a lot of people taking advantage of that.
We've got that niche we're climbing.
Absolutely.
Hey, Dallas.
Hey, hey! Don't hang up on me yet. Don't hang up on me.
I'm not hanging up on you. Are you kidding me?
I'm filming a TV show right now in Montreal.
Oh yeah,
and yeah,
lots of good Mohawk folks out there.
And Canada is freaking expensive. Canada is ridiculously expensive, like just for groceries alone. And I can't imagine our relatives who are far up north in remote communities. But I'm filming a TV show. I've been in Montreal since February. I'm going to be there till July. It's a 6-month shoot.
Yep.
And it's a show called Last Frontier. It's going to be out for Apple TV. And it's a modern day action drama.
Yep.
So the story is it's Con Air meets The Fugitive with a little bit of a Jason Bourne aspect to it.
I auditioned for that and you got it. So there we go.
Are you serious?
Payback. Yes.
Hey. Hey. Yeah.
So there we go. It's a little circle of life. It goes on.
Circle of life. I play a native U.S. Marshal out of Fairbanks.
Yeah.
And it's been eye-opening because this is my first like big production where I'm a series regular. But it's one of those things, I don't know how it was for you, but there's so much lingo they use on movie sets that you just kind of have to fake like you know it until you learn it. Because I always feel embarrassed to ask, you know, like they'll ask, oh, bring the honey bucket over here and the two banger over there and all this stuff. And I'm going 10-1 and all that. And I'm like, what are you? What's all this language?
I don't know how long it took me before I even like had the courage to ask what 10-1 was. And I was just like, I was constantly, I'm going to the bathroom.
Yeah, for folks that don't know, 10-1 means going to the bathroom. But on a set, you just say 10-1, and everyone's like, oh, okay, you're going 10-1. And like all the different roles, all the different jobs on the crew, I do my best to make sure that I'm the best coworker I can be, because we're all coworkers. Yeah. The show is not made with just one person. It's everybody involved. And I just try my best to be the best mentality going in every single day and just try to be a decent person. This is a critique amongst actors, and I haven't really encountered this much, but I just don't understand how actors can, like bigger actors or any actors, can be assholes on a set when in many ways we don't have the worst job on set. No. Like there are folks who bust their ass on a movie set that they don't get the recognition they deserve at times. You know, these guys are showing up before sunrise, and they don't leave the set until 3 a.m,
Yep.
right? Like, you know, all the grips, all of
The
the folks on
PAs.
location.
I did a bunch of
the
PA work,
PAs.
and that is hell. That is such a tough job.
Exactly. So if there is a words of advice, maybe I'll leave on that.
Okay.
Words of advice for aspiring actors or anyone that wants to get into the industry making movies and TV shows is be a good relative at all times.
Oh, that's beautiful. Yes, I love that language.
Be considerate of other people's time. And this is coming from my experience doing sketch comedy and improv, but treat others as if they are the most important person there and make them shine.
Mm-hmm.
Like, that's your job, is to make your other performers, your coworkers, be the best that they can be. Like, that's the best way to achieving success, in my opinion.
That's beautiful. Dallas, I appreciate that. I got one more thing. It's a segment that I always finish every show with called the Red Carpet. And it's just a chance for you to give a shout out to anyone that's out there. What's like really filling your heart at the moment? Be it something you're watching, be it an ally in the industry, be it a friend, your family, and also a rule, which I think you would appreciate. You can't do the red carpet for Reservation Dogs because everyone kept trying to do it. Every one of my guests kept going, Res Dogs, man, that show. Yeah.
Oh, crikey. Oh, freaking frack. I don't know what to say. I'll give a shout out to my niece, Kwana Chasing Horse.
Oh, that's cute.
Who is Goldtooth, Lakota. And she's a model. Many folks know her, but just the way that she carries herself, and talk about somebody that's like doing her job as an influencer and as a model, but also holding her own as an activist. Like, it's just awe-inspiring to see, and I'm so proud of her. And I think that that's a dope generation.
I mean, honestly, being a model is probably it's a great platform, but it's not really anything about who she is.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Huge thank you, Dallas. This has been really, this is my first time conversing with you. So absolutely wonderful. Hopefully one day
it will not be our last.
It will not be the last time. Oh, all right. Yeah. Everyone out there in podcast land, appreciate you listening. Hopefully learn something. Don't be an asshole, as always. Ego se. That's it.
Boots and cats.
Actors and Ancestors is created, produced, and hosted by me, Joel D. Mongrain. Audio editing and production support by Daniela Barreto. And a thank you to the ISO, Indigenous Screen Office, for funding this show. Another thank you to Cheekbone Beauty for sponsoring a giveaway for Season 2 launch. Go to Instagram to find out how to win one of 3 $250 gift cards. Cheekbone Beauty. Lily Gladstone wears it. Why don't you?